This means that China and its industrial belts have the supply chains they need to make all these cars, while Europe and North America do not have them. Australia is part of Asia Pacific, so for them this relationship is simple.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we will be doing a reaction to the Inside China Business channel. Kevin is his name and he resides in China, so he's on the ground there sharing the news as it happens. This channel was recommended by some of my viewers, so thank you very much. I checked him out and everything seems relatively great in terms of his delivery, the information and the statistics that he provides. So I'm more than happy to do a reaction on this one, and it is a good watch, so I recommend others to go and check him out. I will leave the link in the description box below, so all credit goes to his channel. If you're new to my channel, please feel free to subscribe, but also hit that like button for the algorithm before you go. Let's get into this.
Good morning. The chart on the top is the reason the world's legacy car makers stay awake at night, and the chart on the bottom is the main reason why. We'll start with the one with the red parabolic curve. It's new vehicle sales in Australia by country of origin. China's in red, and they were basically at zero until 6 years ago. Now Chinese auto sales in Australia have gone almost vertical. China passed Germany there in 2021. Last year they passed Korea, and they'll go past Thailand probably this year. Australia does not have a domestic car industry to speak of, so they don't have one they have to protect. And so they have not put on the high tariffs and import restrictions that we have in North America and in Europe. This chart is what happens then in markets where lawmakers have not raised tariffs specifically to keep Chinese cars out of their countries. This is every country, in other words, that does not single out Chinese brands. A huge part of the reason is that consumers are switching over to electric cars. This may or may not be motivated to save the world, but they're doing it to save money. EVs just cost less, especially if they're coming from China. And the author of this piece from Australian media thinks that things look pretty bad for Japanese brands in Australia. Japanese car makers missed the boat on EVs. They have a dominant position in hybrid vehicles, but Japan didn't build electric vehicles for Australia. They thought that...
Let me pause right there, but as usual, you know, I might get copyright strike, so I have to pause it every now and then. I know you want to watch it, but if you want to watch everything right through, you can check out his channel and a lot of other insightful videos he has. But one of the things I realized here is that China, being a production giant, was able to subsidize and grow their auto industry from profits gained from exports around the world. A lot of countries are setting up or have set up shop in China, giving them first mover advantage and the monopoly by benefiting from China's economies of scale due to their intensive production costs. Now, because Australia doesn't have a domestic car industry to protect, so they've kept tariffs low just like other countries around the world, unlike what we're seeing here in North America and Europe. And this is what happens when Chinese EVs aren't kept out by high tariffs. They flood the market, but it affords consumers the choice to capitalize on cheaper EVs again due to China's first mover advantage. Remember, Teslas are also made in China. Let's continue.
The next evolution in transportation would be for hydrogen cars, but there's only one place in Australia it's possible to refuel them. Unless that changes in a hurry, the Japanese hydrogen vehicles aren't going to be competitive against China's battery cars. What consumers are demanding right now are electric vehicles, and Japan doesn't have any. And the more EVs China sells, both in Australia and the rest of the world, bring benefits to Australia's mining industry. China is buying 100 times more lithium from Australia compared to 10 years ago. That leads into why this second chart is so important, the supply chain aspects of China's factory sectors. These are the key materials and elements needed for the energy systems around the world. This isn't just for electric cars, it's electric everything, from the magnets and circuits inside of a cell phone to the cables that bring electricity to your house. Everything you see here that is in purple or orange or gray, these countries are very friendly with China. Usually they're producers working with China on an exclusive contract, and they're often minority owned by the Chinese themselves, no matter where it is. CIS is in light blue, and that is Russia and all their closest neighbors, so you can guess who they would prefer to be doing business with these days. Occasionally you see a tiny sliver of dark blue, which is North America. Europe, ex-Russia, is in red, combined with the rest of the world.
And before he goes further, at the end of the day, Chinese EVs just cost less. And I agree with him right here. Now, look at this chart here from the World Economic Forum, the WEF, which shows the top 3 countries that produce lithium. China has and has always had first mover advantage to produce EVs. Canada is nowhere on this list, yet we want to set up battery plants here without having the mines in place. Backward integration is a foreign concept to what we have done so far, and China leapt forward with benchmarking and best practices on this one, something that I've been championing ever since I started this channel. China is churning out affordable, somewhat reliable EVs. There are cases of EV fires being reported all over, but nevertheless, they are leaving Japan in the dust where EV manufacturing are concerned. Let's continue.
This means that China and its industrial belts have the supply chains they need to make all these cars, while Europe and North America do not have them. Australia is part of Asia Pacific, so for them this relationship is simple. They sell raw materials to China, China builds cars and electronics for the entire global market, and they sell some of that output back to Australia. Australia is the world's #1 producer of lithium and has over 40% of global production of lithium. China is by far the biggest buyer of lithium because China is by far the biggest producer of lithium batteries. Here is the chart for that from Chemical and Engineering News. 45% of the world's lithium comes out of the ground in Australia, but way over half of all the lithium is sent to China for refining and then into manufactured products. So Australian lithium feeding China's refineries and factories represents a relationship that nobody in Germany or in the United States or in Japan can offer to Australia on a macroeconomic level. And we can forget about beating the Chinese on price. In the Australian market, here are your options. Tesla's EVs are made in China and cost $70,000. Chinese brands are a little bit more than half that, $40,000. Mercedes and BMWs are way over $100,000. It was Chinese car companies that brought EVs to the mass market in Australia. And Chinese cars cost less because they own the factory sector and the supply chains for all the raw materials that are needed to make them.
And right there, he said it. It's just envy. So while Europe and North America scramble to catch up, China is already miles ahead in this EV race, and hence the tariffs. As I said, follow the money. You can't sanction an EV mandate, then fail to put in place the infrastructure, then the tariffs, and now limit the options for people to make a choice with little or no cheaper options for them to purchase an electric car. Let's continue.
From the perspective of Chinese car makers, this is where the opportunity is. They look at the Australian market, which was dominated by strong foreign brands from Japan and Europe and the United States. But they're all at high price points. For Chinese EV makers, their competition would be Tesla in Australia at $70,000. If they can make cars here and ship them to Australia, they've got the market up to Tesla. Chinese brands can build cars profitably here for under $30,000. They're making money at less than half what Tesla is charging in Australia. So that's the ceiling, $70,000. And they'll be taking market share as soon as their cars come off the ships. From the perspective of those same legacy car makers from Japan, Europe, and the United States, it's the price of the Chinese cars that's killing them above all else. The Australian market is a developed world market, and Australians are proving through their buying behavior that brand loyalty does not run very deep, and neither do they care much where the cars are coming from. We're a Chinese EV priced at, say, $65,000 and the Tesla is $70,000, they would probably buy the brand they know. But at $40,000, they're going to switch.
And Chinese brands are offering EVs for as low as $40,000. Now, that's almost half the price. And these low prices are driving Chinese EVs straight into not only Australian garages, but other garages across the globe who have no brand loyalty. So it only benefits China to stick to those countries that also has the resources to manufacture batteries and to get the raw materials from those particular countries into the Chinese mainland and into the automotive manufacturing plants. It only makes sense. And that is how the barter system was originated, back before monetary policies were originated, back before trade policies were actually originated. People had to think and come up with strategic alliances in order to move forward across this world. But we tend to do things another way here in terms of sanctions, censorships, embargoes, and everything else that try to keep us disciplined, quote unquote disciplined. But that's another story. Let's finish up this video.
This is Fushan Lake, and the video was shared by a viewer vacationing there. This spot is famous for map geeks. Yushi, China is here. It's the center of the Yushi Circle, which is the smallest circle you can draw on a world map that includes half the world's population. This is Fushan Lake, Yushi in Hunan province. And over half the population of the planet lives within a 5-hour plane ride of this spot right here. Be good.
Well, there you have it. And years ago, and I mean many years ago, Jamaicans and other developing countries across the world were enjoying a brand called Lada that originated out of the then Soviet Union, now Russia. And here's what they looked like. As you can see, they were dirt cheap and they were super affordable. Everyone that had a relatively sound salary could afford one. Western politics got involved, and again, we, the consumers, lost out. That brand is still up and running in Russia. Remember, the automotive sector is a cycle, and history always seems to find a way to repeat itself. And yet, we still refuse to learn from it. We spent billions of dollars to invest in battery production plants here in Canada, only to import lithium from other countries to manufacture here. Yet we have lithium reserves here sitting and waiting to be mined from the ground. And those mines are nowhere yet to be started. As usual, in all, what do you think? Is China set to take over the world EV market? Will tariffs change the game? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for more content just like this. Remember to grab a copy of my ebook, The Parts Manager Guide. Please smash that like button again on your way out. It will only take you 1.5 seconds to do so. Until next time.